Good day everyone, and welcome to Deltascape version 4. After overcoming all obstacles, we find ourselves in the final stage of Omega's test world, and awaiting us is our toughest opponent yet, the Dark Mage X-Death. In Deltascape's climactic battle, X-Death will alternate between 3 major elemental spells, and further enhance them through the power of the Void. It'll be up to the players to keep a close eye on the boss when he taps into the Void portal, and anticipate how his abilities will behave. Of course, being a warlock of immense power, X-Death has more than just a handful of spells to throw at the party, and he will introduce additional mechanics as the fight progresses. Upon engaging the boss, X-Death will execute Doom, marking 2 players for death. This mechanic will only occur once, and healers must be ready to dispel it with Asuna. The first elemental spell players will run into is Blizzard 3. Normally, this mechanic will form danger zones underneath players, triggering after a short time. The second elemental spell, or Thunder 3, normally functions as a tank buster mechanic, placing a lightning vulnerability stack on the target, making subsequent casts more difficult to survive. Tanks should be ready to swap upon reaching 2 stacks, as Thunder 3 will deal a significant amount of damage past to that point. The third and final elemental spell introduced to players is Fire 3, marking 4 players with explosion markers, dealing damage to anyone within close proximity. As the fight progresses, X-Death will begin tapping into the portal, channeling the power of the Void into his elemental spells, altering their properties. In the case of Blizzard 3, the boss will strike all players for a moderate amount of damage, and freeze any players not moving when the spell finishes casting. For Thunder 3, X-Death will create a powerful explosion around himself, forcing players to move away from him in order to avoid being struck. And lastly, Fire 3 will afflict all party members with Pyretic. Players must not execute any actions while this debuff is active, or they will take significant damage. Once players are acquainted with his elemental spells, X-Death will begin introducing his other mechanics. Firstly, Vacuum Wave, a powerful knockback centered around X-Death himself. While not particularly dangerous in the beginning, players must be ready to position themselves in such a way that the knockback will not push them off the arena at a later point in the fight. After scattering the players throughout the arena, X-Death will introduce Holy, a party stacking mechanic. Players must quickly reposition themselves to help mitigate the incoming damage. As we approach the second half of the fight, X-Death will execute the Decisive Battle, forming an impact zone in the center of the arena and re-emerging as an evil tree. Players must be mindful of the railings that are no longer present, and be sure to circle around X-Death to avoid the zombie breath that follows shortly after. Any player struck will become zombified for a significant amount of time, and begin attacking each other. On future casts of Decisive Battle, X-Death will also call upon Vines, covering a significant portion of the arena in danger zones, leaving only a small area for the party to hide in. As mentioned before, players must be ready to quickly hide behind X-Death following the initial impact, in order to avoid the incoming zombie breath. At this point, X-Death will introduce Flare, marking 3 party members with proximity markers. The marked players must move away from the rest of the party, as they will explode after a short period of time, dealing damage to other players based on distance. Soon after, the party must be ready to withstand Meteor, a powerful, unavoidable AoE that deals a significant amount of damage to all players. And lastly, we have Black Hole, a mechanic that litters the arena with black holes that explode upon contact, significantly limiting the space available to players. X-Death will often combine this mechanic with many of his other abilities, and players must be mindful of the path they take in order to avoid triggering any black holes. While not technically an ability, tanks and healers must be ready for spikes in damage coming from X-Death's auto attacks. When afflicted with vulnerability, a single critical hit is all it takes to bring your main tank from full health to half dead. Pay close attention to the boss when he taps into the portal to anticipate the behavior of his spells, and adjust your positioning based on his other mechanics. Show Xdeath this isn't your first time putting the void in its place, and rejoice, for we have completed Deltascape and fended off Omega's threat for now.